mic up already. Welcome everybody and good morning. As we gather, we are reminded that Guelph is situated on treaty land that is steeped in rich indigenous history. Sorry, I stopped in the middle of that. And home to many First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. As a city, we have a responsibility for the stewardship of the land on which we live and work. And today we acknowledge the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nations of the Anishinaabeg peoples on whose traditional territory we are meeting. My name is Scott Stewart, CEO here with the City of Guelph, and I'd like to thank you all for joining us for this exciting announcement this morning. And I'd like to start by recognizing a few individuals that are with us here today. Of course, our MP, Lloyd Longfield, is with us, so welcome, Lloyd. And our Mayor Guthrie, is with us as well this morning. It's great to see everybody else gathered here as well at our facility. We're excited for today's announcement. It's one where I can proudly connect the dots back to our strategic plan. When we launched Guelph's Future Ready strategic plan, we set a goal to care for the local environment and respond to climate change, all in an effort to prepare Guelph for a net zero carbon future. What MP Longfield will share in a moment is bringing us another step closer to achieving our race to zero and becoming a net zero carbon community by 2050. This facility is well loved and well used, and you can see some of that activity in the background. In addition to providing numerous popular programs and services, the West End Community Centre is designated a cooling and warming centre. And as we know, ventilation has become more and more important post-COVID. So today's announcement will allow this community building to continue to welcome thousands of visitors each year while we're saving energy at the same time. Today's announcement will also give the community another reason to leave their vehicle at home, and because they will be able to navigate our active transportation network easily and safely. So I'm extremely grateful for the support by our federal partners and folks at Infrastructure Canada. So thank you to both. And with that, without further ado, I'd like to invite MP Longfield to the podium. Lloyd.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks, Scott. And it's great to be here. It's great to be here without I shouldn't say without grandkids in the swimming pool and without grandson playing lacrosse or hockey. Those are different times. This is more of an official time. And I know the guys that are exercising behind me, and notice Johnny isn't on the machine. He's doing all the talking, which is normal. But this is where people come together in Guelph. And that's just a remarkable thing that we're here to make this announcement today. I'm standing in for the Honorable Dominic LeBlanc, who's the Minister of Infrastructure. Amazing guy. I'm not going to try and be Dominic because I'd probably hurt something. But he's a very high energy minister. His dad used to be the Governor General of Canada. And Dominic tells stories about babysitting the Prime Minister. So I don't have time for those stories, but they're pretty cool. So where am I on my notes? As Scott mentioned, we're working on building a prosperous Canada together and doing it in a sustainable way. Guelph is on a path for net zero, and the Government of Canada is also on a path to net zero. So we're traveling the same path, and we are working together to get there together. So we're looking at how we can cut pollution, fight climate change, and making a better future for generations to come. People that are in swimming lessons today will be the lifeguards tomorrow, and then they'll be out in the community doing other things. This is the type of facility that we build social connections. And it's the kind of facility that we also keep in shape. I saw exercises going on in the pool this morning. Seniors are in the pool, and then tonight there will be kids in the pool. So it's great to see this kind of work going on in the community. The staff has done a great job of reacting to getting the flags in place and the maple leaves facing the right way and getting us here this morning. I know we've had to change this venue for a couple of times, and we've combined a couple of announcements today. And we've got two infrastructure projects that we'll be announcing. The first one is through the Green and Inclusive Community Building Program. The Government of Canada is contributing $1.6 million to the green energy retrofits at the West End Community Centre. Funding for the project will support the retrofit of 20 HVAC units up on the roof and in the boiler room. The work will improve the facility's ventilation, providing better experience for users at one of Guelph's largest community centers. Once this is complete, the enhancements are expected to reduce the facility's energy consumption by an estimated 54.6%, and greenhouse gas emissions will be reduced by 740 tons annually. So big numbers and big investment. Facilities that meet the community's social, cultural, and health needs are critical to fostering resiliency and creating opportunity, and they're fun. This announcement today represents another step in Guelph's work to get to net zero by 2050. And the other announcement is, in addition to this, the Government of Canada is investing $50,000 through the Active Transportation Fund towards the development of a wayfinding strategy for Guelph's trails and active transportation network. And I know many of you have been working on these projects for years, and they just continue to roll out. My wife and I were on the Trans-Canada Trail a couple of nights ago, and it's accessible, it's great for her. She's just had foot surgery, so I was wheeling her along through the Trans-Canada Trail. Birds are singing, creek going by. It's a beautiful network that we have in Guelph. And now we have a project to create more consistent and continuous wayfinding systems that'll make it safer and easier to use Guelph's trails, sidewalks, paths, transportation, and recreation. The active transportation is vital to our economy and tourism sectors, and it provides alternate modes of transportation. I'm still riding my bike on the streets, and I know there's trails I should be using, could be using. I have to get into a different habit. At the same time, I think other people are looking at other ways to get to work. It's a way of improving our air quality, reducing emissions. You meet people on the trails, you get healthy at the same time. Active transportation is one of the key pathways that we have as a country to achieve our net zero goals and contributing to inclusive and sustainable economic growth. Through Canada's first National Active Transportation Strategy, our government is growing access to active transportation, creating safe environments that support equitable, healthy, and active, sustainable options. And Guelph has been doing this for a number of years, and what we're doing is trying to dovetail the work nationally with the work that's been going on in the community. When we invest in infrastructure together, we're creating stronger communities, and we're investing in the well-being of Canadians today and for future generations. So congratulations to Guelph, to the city, staff, to the mayor and council for your vision and what you're doing to make Guelph an even greener community, and I'm glad that we're able to help from the federal government. So I'll turn it over to Mayor Guthrie, if that's okay, or you want to talk next? Okay, I'll follow the order. Thanks a lot, Scott.
So thank you very much, Lloyd, and thank you for sharing that with us today. Within all of that, I'm certainly thrilled by this partnership and the tangible outcomes, but also recognizing the staff that are in the room that make these things possible. So thank you for doing that as well. Of course, there is some staff here in the room with us today, but with us, behind the scenes folks, is Jody Sales, who looks after a lot of our grants and the staff that also support that. We've got our DCO, Colleen Clackbush, that this building happens to fit into her portfolio, and of course our acting DCO, Terry Gimmy, who the facilities folks that come and treat Colleen's group as a client, make all these things happen. So there's a lot of behind the scenes pieces that make this worthwhile, and thank you for that 1.6 million, almost 1.7 million really, through this green and inclusive community building program. But there's also $450,000 in there from the city of Guelph, of course, as well. So that reduces energy in the building by nearly 55%. So there's so many wins here. You know, whether it's our bottom line in terms of the operating costs for big buildings like this, or the environment. And I know the mayor will speak to the environment in a little bit. But the investment in our community buildings makes such a difference. So thank you for that. And of course, thank you for the $50,000 on the wayfinding. It's a small investment, but it has such a payoff as well, as you talked about with you and your wife, being able to get around our city. So we look forward to that work leading to even greater work in terms of the transportation side of things. So now I'd like to welcome our favorite mayor, Mayor Cam Guthrie. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you so much. I do really appreciate the opportunity to be here. And Lloyd, to you and to the federal government, as usual, thank you very, very much for looking out for our city, looking out for cities, plural. And this is just another great investment of these two things for our city. And I thank you, Scott, for already acknowledging staff, because often, here's the mayor or councilors, saying, oh, thank you for this. But the only reason why we're able to say thank you for these funds is because our staff did the work in getting all this together for us. So a big thank you to staff right off the bat. So I'm going to repeat a couple of things just to make it a little bit clear and add a couple more little data points just for a takeaway for our community about these announcements today. And so I want to talk to you about the two things that we're talking about here today. The first one is we are replacing 20 heating, ventilation, and air conditioning units right here in this building at the West End Center. This work will provide energy and cost savings while significantly reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Specifically, the new HVAC system saves over half the energy previously used to heat and cool this center. It reduces greenhouse gas emissions by burning a lot less natural gas by stopping, and here's a new data point for you, 746 tons of carbon dioxide from being released into our environment annually. This also helps us move forward, as already been mentioned, for our Race to Zero goals and our overall goal of trying to be a net zero community by 2050 or sooner. And then number two, we'll use part of this funding to create the wayfinding plan for Guelph. And this has been talked about on and off for quite a few years. And it's to help with the active transportation network that is being used more and more and more, as I've seen over the years here in our community. This will give people a way better way, no pun intended, of finding, no pun intended, their way around, whether they're navigating Guelph's trails, their sidewalks, whether they're using a scooter or walking or hiking or accessible devices, doesn't matter what it is. This project will help them find a way to maybe make a choice, a different choice in their daily routine to use active transportation options. And this wayfinding will enable them to get around the city a lot better. I also just again want to reiterate our thanks to our leadership team here and to staff. And thank you for our media partners being here today to capture this moment for our community, because it really is important to see joint investment in these things that we're announcing today. So thank you again to the federal government, and thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. This is a good day for our community and for this community center. So thank you very much.
So thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and of course everybody for your attention this morning. That's the formal part of the work done with us today. We were going to go outside and do the picture first, but I'm thinking maybe we'll just do a couple of questions and then do the picture, and then that way it can just sort of smoothly go. So if I could get Lloyd and Cameron to come back up. If there is questions, if you want to just sort of let us know who you are, and then perhaps the question and maybe who you're directing it to, and we might engage some of our staff that are in the room as well.
I'm Adam from Guelph POLITICO. Thank you. About the HVAC, the money for the HVAC system, is that in addition to the work that has already been done? Like, I know that a lot of the HVACs up on the roof were replaced last year, so is this covering that cost, or is this for additional work?
Well, I mean, yeah, I could answer it, but the technical guy can probably do better. So come on up. Yeah.
So Brian will come up, help us with it. Brian looks after a lot of the technical pieces, and we'll say this.
It's what's been done.
Just a nice short answer would be good as well, Brian.
Sorry, I kind of missed that, but I think you were asking if the money was going towards
additional work, or if it's covering some of the work already done.
Yeah, so we had started the work earlier on, and as they were evaluating the application and all that stuff, we were already communicating through that. So that is already work that's completed, but we're still kind of in the tail ends of getting that done. So it's not traditional.
Okay, so this is covering the cost of what work that was going to be done anyway.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. So
okay. No, sorry. Go ahead.
Originally, there were 20 units to be changed out, and we started that work, and we're already at the tail end now, and that's the money that it's going towards.
And my second question is the same, but about the wayfinding. Is that in addition to the money that the city's put aside for wayfinding, or is that going to help cover the cost of the wayfinding project?
So it's additional monies. So again, we're always grateful for any money, but additional monies also leverage monies that we'll eventually end up having to spend. And as I said earlier, this is the study part that gets us thinking about our multi-year budget in 24 and beyond on the actual implementation of it.
Perfect.
Yeah. A few years ago, we had 1.4 million towards trails, and so as Scott said, this continues to build out. But like any project, it's never quite finished, and once it is finished, you got to start over again. So we'll keep working on that.
Hi, Santana from Guelph today. I know this is a little bit too far ahead because it's just been announced, but do we have an estimated start date and completion date of this project? I think Brian, perhaps?
You know.
Yeah, so with respect to the rooftop units at the West End Community Center, so we have started that work actually quite a while ago and had some construction notices to work with the community to put those pauses in place. So we are at the tail end now, so we're actually just commissioning the units. The units are all up there. Construction is pretty much all done.
Follow up to that one. When are we going to start seeing the payoffs of this new system?
Right now.
And then in addition to the wayfinding system, maybe Mayor Kim Guthrie can answer this. I know Kitchener has employed, not the city, but there's an app called Cycle Guide, and it works with Guelph as well, and it's particular to cycles. But are we thinking of something like an app that would help with wayfinding in not let alone cycling, but walking and other ways?
Yeah, as much as I want to answer that, the expert is right there.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so I'll ask Jen to come up, and she's involved in all of our active transportation work, and so best for her to kind of talk about that. So.
Sure. Yeah, thanks for the question. Through the study, we're going to evaluate whether there's an app opportunity as well. So it's going to be part of the study still.
Okay.
Graham, Guelph Mercury Tribune. You talked about how the HVAC work is going to contribute towards the city's net zero goal. How big of a dent is it going to make in, like, percentage-wise? How much is it going to contribute to the city's carbon footprint?
You've got the actual tonnage.
So yeah, so as the mayor and Minister Longfield, MP Longfield had mentioned, so it is 740 tons per year, and so those are ongoing savings as we carry on. It is one part of the city. I mean, we have multiple municipal facilities and definitely a lot of different operations that are going on. I can't give you a percentage number of that total size off the bat, but I mean, it's ongoing savings that are going to be going in and helping us towards that net zero target.
If I could, I'm just going to jump in. So one of the things that the city has really, I believe, changed over the last several years is a new climate lens that everything is filtered through. So all capital projects, everything we do at the city, all the reports that come forward, they're already embedded in those things is a climate lens. So even in the capital, the future capital projects that are either for this year and future capital coming up, it's always going to be done, especially in renewal, not just new buildings, but in renewal, such as what's here. It's always going to be done through that climate lens anyways. So everything that we're doing, whether it's an EV bus, or whether it's more active transportation, or whether it's HVAC units, all those things are all incremental steps, looking through the lens of trying to meet that goal by 2050 or sooner.
So when we look at the federal strategy is looking at transportation as one of the main contributors, buildings being another main contributor.
Yep.
This project will help both when we look at the EV buses that are coming here. Then you're also looking at the fleet management and the police services fleet management. And so we're trying to tackle the big pieces first, and that's buildings and transportation. And then we'll get on from there into agriculture and industry as well.
No follow-up.
Great. So thank you very much. And I think as both Cam and Lloyd indicated, it's such a broader issue for us. You know, very specifically for us, the housing and transportation. Those are where the big numbers are. I mean, the number that Brian gave us here today, the 780, that's like taking 165 cars off the road. And that cumulative effect over time is exactly where we're headed with the direction from council. That's why I've looked into our strategic plan. But I would also say this, it's once you do all those little things, you can lead by example, but we've also got things like our green housing program, where there's investments that folks can get a loan through the city of Guelph and FCM. That helps do those improvements in your home as well. So as much as we can lead by example on a building like this, we could also set the pace, certainly on some housing units, so they can make a difference and deal with that through their sort of taxes as well. So this is a good news program today because at least through other thinking and creative thinking for the long haul, what does the future city look like? And these are the beginning pieces where we'll start to look back and say, thank goodness in the year 2022 we got it this, because in the year 2030 we got it this other thing. So thank you for joining us today, and I think
I'm gonna jump in one more time, sorry.
Mayor's got one more thing.
Sorry, I just don't want to lose the point. This is important for me anyways, is that we're winning on the environment side for this announcement today. But we're winning on the financial side too. That can't be lost on this. So this is truly a win-win. When we're getting this money together for these types of projects, it's fantastic for the environment, and we should celebrate that. And if that was the only thing to celebrate, we'll celebrate that. But we're also saving money. And so this is part of also making sure we're running efficiently, using taxpayers' dollars properly, and so this is not something I think we should lose, is the financial piece as well.
And I always have to throw in too, because this is exciting stuff. When we're talking about the home retrofits, you know, $40,000 per home comes from the federal government through FCM to the city, and then the homeowners get zero interest loans through some qualification process, and then they save on their heating going down the road. And as heating costs go up, they're already ahead of the game by doing the work on retrofits. So that's why we're working together, because it's a big job and we need to work together. And Mike Schreiner has also been helping us with the provincial things where that's possible. But a lot of this comes from the federal government straight into the municipality.
Okay, very good. And you're going to wrap us up with
Yeah,
one more
just
question.
talking about the financial side again. Brian might know the answer to this. What is the total cost of the HVAC project here at West End?
Yeah, so we did receive 1.6, actually closer to $1.7 million from our federal partner. And then there was the investment from the city, about $450,000 or so. So putting that all together, about just north of $2 million.
But the prior work and the prior investment in this project, the same amount? Okay. Okay, thank you.
No worries.
Great, thank you very much. Thank the panel up here, and of course, thank you for going back to the fiscal, because that is a win-win-win all around. So with that, we're gonna, I think, head outside and do the, you know, who said infrastructure isn't sexy? Jane was here, she would commit to that. So we're gonna do a picture in front of the HVAC system and do that piece. So thank you very much for coming out, folks.
Just another point on that, right? So if the city has money set aside for a project, like we did, and then the federal government or provincial government comes in and says, hey, we're going to cover 80% of it. Then that frees up that money locally to now go to another project.
Right.
We have, obviously we have a backlog of infrastructure projects, whether it's for new stuff or whether we fix the existing stuff.
Yeah.
So what grants do you hear from upper levels of government really lessens the burden on the local taxpayer, but then frees up that same amount of money that was only provided from the local taxpayers to now go to other projects.
Right.
Maybe get those other projects done sooner.
Yeah, okay, that's an important point. It just kind of moves money around and gets things going a little bit quicker. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay. Awesome.
All right.
I would like to announce
Yeah, that's nice.
Well, I lucked out because
I have an interview for tomorrow's open sources scheduled